Hi, this section of my testimony is not documented by medical professionals. It's about my spiritual encounters and my miraculous recovery. It includes what I heard before I collapsed, what I was saying back, and also what I've seen and felt while in coma and after coma. In my opinion, the only reason I did not end up with severe brain damage is because God wanted me to remember everything and tell people about His goodness. The spiritual world is very different from the physical world that we live in. I have learned from my personal experience. Believe me when I say it feels very real when you are there. Before my cardiac arrest, I had no warning symptoms of concern, no chest pain or shortness of breath. I was fit with BMI of 24.5. On Saturday, 5th of June 2021, in the afternoon, I had finished my gym session, had lunch and walked out of the Australia Fair shopping centre to cross a pedestrian crossing on a very busy street. This particular crossing is approximately 20 meters wide and also has two sets of tram lines in the middle of it. After I stepped on the pedestrian crossing, I clearly heard a deep, steady voice in my mind saying, "Your heart will stop now and you are going to die." A moment later, it happened exactly as I heard. I was lying down in the middle of the street with no pulse, and I was not breathing. I remember when I heard this voice, I freaked out because it was so real and convincing. I remember when I heard this voice, I started talking to God. I was walking across the street and talking, saying, "God, no God, please, it's not my time. I have grandchildren to see grow up and get married. Even see my great-great-grandchildren. Also, my small dog Bella is home alone waiting for me to get back." At that moment, I had arrived at the other side of this crossing. At this time, I was thinking, what was all of that nonsense about my heart talking to God? I thought I must be going crazy. In fact, my body never made it to the other side of the street. Apparently, I was lying face down in the middle of the road, but I did not know that at the time. While I was walking and talking to God, approaching the other side of the street, I remember a middle-aged Asian female with short black hair walking in the opposite direction. She started yelling something in her own language with her hands stretched out pointing behind me. She was trying to inform others that I had fallen down in the middle of the street. At the time I did not know this. I simply continued walking. During my days in coma, I was fighting for my life against spiritual enemies that I could not see because it was total darkness. I could only hear them roaring and attacking. Darkness turned into semi-darkness. Suddenly it went very quiet, and for the first time I could see the surroundings. I could see mildly elevated terrain in front of me. About 50 meters away from me, I saw something that looked like 6 or 7 big gray rocks that suddenly started moving, unfolded, before my eyes and stood upright, started roaring very loud. For the first time, I saw my spiritual enemies. They looked like nothing we have here on earth. These spiritual beings were at least 3 meters tall, with a proportional body that was fully covered with long gray body hair, including legs, arms, and head. Each spiritual being had a huge head of a male lion, covered with gray hair, and they were roaring very loud. They looked similar to this photo. I am not a professional, and that was the best I could do. These spiritual beings rolled down the hill towards me and stood up about 5 meters away from me. The spiritual beings started roaring again, very loudly, as they were coming closer to me. I freaked out and realized that this time I had no chance to survive. I could see my enemies approaching closer and closer to me. They were so overpowering, so big and strong. They did look very scary. At that time I thought, this is it. I'm done. It's all over. At that moment, I heard the same deep voice once again, saying it's not over until I say it's over. Then I saw something amazing happening. A pinhole of light appeared about 50 meters away diagonally on my right side and about 50 meters up high. Suddenly, I noticed that the stream of light is coming closer, wider, and longer. As it was coming closer towards me, the light was the most amazing thing that I had seen in a very long time, after being in the darkness for many days, fighting for my life against those evil spiritual creatures. The stream of light was getting longer, wider, and gradually coming closer to me until I was surrounded by it. At that moment, my enemies disappeared, and I flew out with the light. I would like to add that during this event, everything was beyond my control. Previously, I had never read any of the Bible, and I was very skeptical regarding spiritual things. Before, I only attended church few times each year, mainly Christmas and Easter. I started reading the Bible after I walked out of hospital. For the last 10 years, on the contrary, I have been listening to Joel Osteen's sermons. I find them encouraging and inspiring. Back then, I wrote self-affirmations from his sermons in my notebook that I still keep. When I was in coma, my wife was looking through my notebooks. I'm sure she was looking for my bank accounts and passwords. And she came across the page with his affirmations. She decided to rewrite these affirmations on a blank page of paper and put it in her bag. I still keep it. When I woke up from coma, she took it out of the bag and said, "Someone left a letter for you in the mailbox. I will read it to you." She started declaring his affirmations to me. I was nodding with my head, whispering yes, yes, because I couldn't speak yet. I could only whisper. At that moment, as she continued reading, I felt very unusual, uplifting energy coming into my body like never before in my life. Later on, I asked my family, why didn't they play Joel Osteen sermons to me while I was in coma? My son said, well, we'll try to remember that for next time. We all laughed. This is not the full story. There is more. But I wanted to keep my testimony short and to the point. Thanks to the medical staff and the goodness of God, I am here today recording my testimony. On the day I called, God answered me and chose to bless me by bringing me back to life, to make an example of His goodness. God is not bound by the limitations of the medical science, and with Him, all things are possible. Thank you, doctors, and thank you, Jesus, for bringing me back, healing my body, and restoring my health. Thank you all for taking time to watch my testimony, and God bless you.